All right, everybody, welcome back to Culz Interviews. This week we are diving back into the world of music. And this one's really cool because it's a connection to two previous interviews that we've done. But we're going to talk to Sean here, who was recommended by Shane, who you should remember from at least two of our previous interviews. So I will let Sean just briefly describe himself.
Well, howdy, everybody. Sean Page. I'm a studio drummer for several bands: Fragile X, Imaginos, Cat Blue, Apology None, and my solo project Navigator. My connections to Shane, or I was his drum teacher for many years. Tried to teach him everything that I could, not just drumming, but everything I knew that would help him in the music business, from the mistakes that I had made to intrapersonal relationships with the band members and stuff. And with music, there's always change. Some of the people fluctuate and move in and out, and you just kind of got to be able to go with it. And then you wind up being in like another type of family, an odd family or an odd marriage. But Shane's a really good kid, and he's worked hard, and it's nice to see that he's doing something with his drumming and his music career. Yeah, I'm a drummer. That's what I like to do, and fortunately, having a basement studio enables me to do the session work, which enables these bands that are getting radio airplay to still have purpose without playing live. And I miss that. I'm working on that. Living in Elizabeth, it's been a little challenging to put a complete prog band together. I like music that's more technical, even simple that's technical, like Electric Light Orchestra. It's my favorite band of all time. And then I really like Rush. So a lot of stuff in between, a lot of different drummers that have influenced me, and just in my 50s, but still enjoying music, still playing the drums, and it's obviously good for you, whether that be for stress relief or just working on your cardiovascular, which my mom died recently. So I spent a lot of time the last year sitting, by a bedside. So we'll work on the cardiovascular. Plus, I had COVID twice. Still getting over the last, I guess, symptoms of it. Or maybe I have some permanent symptoms. I'm hoping not, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, both Sam and I got it last year, I think, and yeah, it's taken a while. I know my buddy that got it early in 2020 still can't taste things, so definitely
Yeah,
has its lasting
First
effects.
got it. I was like, yeah, beginning of 2020,
Mm.
before it was like even announced as COVID.
right. The first one, which was really mean. That first
Oh, no,
version,
pretty
and I
cool.
had that's I caught it in like February, or the very end of 2019. And again, they were talking about the kids doing like they were manipulating their juice, but they didn't realize it yet, and it was vitamin E acetate, which like when you vape it turns to formaldehyde. But we had COVID going on at the same time, so there was this giant freak out. And then of course I caught it. And you're like, damn, this is not the flu. You know,
No.
as you know, Sam, if you had version number one, it seemed to be to me a
Mhm.
lot than the 1B or whatever the last version I got. Plus, I had technology. I got the antivirals this time on top of being vaccinated, and I feel, knock on wood, pretty fortunate that I didn't get nearly as sick the second time. But again, some lasting bronchitis or whatever. But I'll work on that. We'll get way back in shape, because again, that needs to happen for the live thing, and that's something that's pretty important on the list before I get too old to do it. Pert retired at 58, and I'm 54. So to do what I like to do, and to play drums at the level I like, maybe I slow down a little bit. Hopefully, I keep playing. Um, one of my favorite drummers, Bev Bevan, is like 77 or 78 now. I think he'll be 78 this year, and he's playing in a band called Quill, and he made the band better. They have a pretty good keyboard player. Well, actually, a really good keyboard player. I'm not super familiar with the musicians, in Quill. It took me a little bit to get used to the singer, but they brought in Tony Martin, who sang with Black Sabbath. Bev met him on the Born Again tour. Well, I actually, up to, I guess maybe we'll go off a little bit of a different thread. I was lucky enough to meet Bev Bevan. We opened in June 1996 for ELO2 at a place called Mustang Sally's. It was like a big, really popular country venue. And it was, I think, up north a little bit, like near Fort Collins or Loveland or something. Anyway, it was a really great opportunity, and it was everybody except for Jeff Lynne and Richard Tandy. Everybody else from ELO was in ELO too. So in June of 1996, my band Fragile X was lucky enough through word of mouth. We heard ELO was going to be in town, and just on a whim, we 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 heard it through the grapevine. So we heard it quickly and immediately. Like I drove up to the place where we were having the gig at Mustang Sally's and brought a promo pack up. And being that it was a country venue, they didn't really know a lot of rock bands. So it was a great opportunity for Fragile X to get our foot in the door in a bigger concert like setting. And it was a lot of fun. The sound guy made us sound really good, really nice monitors. So, it's that was probably a low A or B level show, but the sound equipment was phenomenal. The sound guy was phenomenal. Really, really had a lot of fun and enjoyed watching ELO too. Kelly Graf, the bass player, did a lot of the vocals for him, and also Eric Troyer, who they brought in to play keyboards, is also a good singer. So ELO2 was a fun and good band. Also, they don't get maybe enough credit, and they're still touring as the orchestra. I just enjoy that music. I like orchestrated rock. And orchestrated rock really is a form of progressive rock, one of the earlier forms, again, probably started by the Beatles, and then ELO took it further. Um, it's a rabbit hole, that family tree of the Birmingham musicians, but that's like where John Bonham came from Led Zeppelin, and Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. I mean, just produced a lot of great musicians, that Birmingham music scene. It would be interesting. That's a place I would like to visit. And supposedly it's like an industrial city, so I don't know if it's maybe so much to go see it, but still, just knowing that that's where this music originated, it would be fascinating to be able to go there.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, it definitely, even for a historical for like us, I think it'd be fun. But like for you, I know that'd probably be even more exciting, just seeing kind of the roots of all that. Let's,
I love history. I mean,
mhm,
and I'm into the paranormal, normal, and whether there's UFOs and just basic fun stuff. At this point, I'm figuring the Loch Ness monster probably is not real based upon all the empirical evidence, but Bigfoot, there's it's kind of interesting. Makes you wonder some of the video that's out there.
mhm,
Yeah.
It's possible. Anything's possible because technology, if you're low level intelligence, seems like magic.
mhm,
So I tend to hope at least that there's still magic in the universe, and a lot of cool stuff to still explore. And
There's a
it,
lot, but we're not able to go out there yet.
no, I think some of the folks that are getting to do psychedelic therapy for anxiety and depression and chronic pain, um, like ketamine therapy, for instance, they're touching a little bit more of that big computer machine. It's like a biological. The way I envision the universe, it's like a giant biological computer. It's a machine, but yet it's alive. And yet it's a computer because there's mathematics behind it all. And then it's interesting because you could get into the science actually of religion, like the soul is made of energy. And does it go somewhere because it's energy? It should, if it's following the laws of this universe. And then there's interesting things like in physics where they're talking about, they know there's 11 dimensions, and for gravity to work in this dimension, some of gravity perhaps is bleeding off. But then you have the James Webb telescope, and we're learning new things about the universe that's putting the original Big Bang theory into question, let alone running to the end of the mathematics with string theory, actually reaching the end there. They like ran out of math. But now there's this thing, it's not sacred geometry, but I believe it's something similar based on mathematics, micro mathematics to macro mathematics um, in this universe, meaning small, very small, like a cell, or we go even smaller to an atom, but you scale it up to planets and solar systems, then galaxies. There's principles that are in the seashell that are the same mathematics that make the galaxy what it is. And I find that area of science really interesting because I think at some point we'll know more about where we go when we die and what happens based upon just the science alone, all the cool stuff that we're learning. And again, people that are having near death experiences or psychedelic experiences where they're more connected to that energy, whether you look at it as being God, because I don't envision myself picturing God as like a man. I think it's got to be something much greater than just a father figure in the sky. Something, perhaps it is the whole universe, and we're just part of it. And like again, macro versus micro, or micro versus macro. Humans, like, imagine us, we live in a small bubble, but then the universe is this big bubble. It's really big. And then again, there's different bubbles, like the solar system is a bubble. Our personal space is a bubble. Um, so it's kind of interesting how all of this stuff correlates through mathematics, which again, if you can come up with the math, and again, there's some truly great physicists, not only ones that have lived prior like Einstein, but modern mathematicians like Stephen Hawking that have gone, as far as they can go with the math. And I just find all of that really fascinating. So in addition to music, there's a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. I'm a car guy, part of a Volkswagen club here in Colorado. We put on Volkswagens on the Green, and it's coming back.
D&D is really fun. I used to play with a group a lot, and we would get into character.
Oh hell yeah, that's what makes it, man. Like if you're
Oh yeah.
evil, be evil in the game. If you're chaotic, be kind of crazy and chaotic. Yeah, that the stories is what makes it. Like we work
Oh
really
yeah.
hard. We're trying to get a game, or at least maybe a fanzine published through Goodman Games. Me and my buddies. It's more so them. I'm more of just a play tester, really. But they're
Oh,
really good, and they're both graphic artists, and they're able to do the DCC style. So I'm really excited because
Yeah, no, let us know if you get it published, and maybe we can do a review and have you come play with us and do something like that. Which I was going to ask you. I'm not sure. Have you ever seen the movie? It's called Pi, but it's kind of about that.
I haven't. I've
Yeah,
not
it's
seen that. Or wait, is the life of Pi?
no, just Pi.
Pi.
Yeah,
No, I have not, Keegan.
it's not. Oh,
he
actually,
probably
hold on. I have it right there. I
does.
have it right there.
Is it on Netflix or?
Oh,
I have a lot of on-demand stuff on my cable. I might be able to find it.
I'm not. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix. I can check for you.
it'll
Let's
be on
let's see.
Tubi. I'll check that.
So have you guys been up to the graveyards and stuff and done anything up at Central City?
Not yet.
No.
Yeah, my uncle's place. Um, I believe now I think he's sold all that stuff, but he owned the Wells Fargo building for many, many years. And he had a gift shop down below and then an apartment up above. And people seen a ghost of an Indian. Like
Okay.
it's usually just a freaking hovering like head or something really strange, made of some kind of energy or something, but people, more than one person has seen it. Yeah, Central City's cool. The graveyards up there, they have people from, I'm thinking the 1600s. I mean, like made like crazy 1700s for sure. I mean, like crazy when they were born.
Mm-hmm.
They were like people that maybe lived, maybe past the mean age, because of course people didn't live. I don't know. It was 72 when I was growing up. I think it's like 70 now or something is the mean age that people live. But back then it was like 40.
Right. Yeah, a lot of like child mortality and stuff like that.
Poor kids worked as, slave labor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
And
the
they,
coal mines and all that.
oh man, whether it be the factories, the coal mines, the farms, mankind or humanity has been very cruel in our development. Like, has been slow. I grew up on we're going to the moon more and Mars, etc. generation. We were supposed to be going into space, not wasting our money on blowing each other up. War is dumb. It makes absolutely, like, nuclear weapons make absolutely no sense whatsoever. We have these weapons that deter people supposedly from attacking us, but if anyone uses them, the consequences are just diabolically mind-boggling. And the weapons now are so much more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mean, we're talking maybe 100, 1,000 times more powerful, maybe even more for hydrogen nuclear bombs.
Yeah,
So
if we look at like what was it called, Tsar Bomba that the Soviets did, like was exponentially bigger than I think it was like 100,000 times bigger than Hiroshima or something crazy like that.
yeah, and if just one weapon that size goes off on the planet, we're basically done. We're doomed. The fallout's going to just freaking be in the atmosphere, and the jet stream's going to distribute it. And
Yeah, and it's like blanket the earth essentially.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we would freaking lose sunlight. It would be like essentially like what's happened with extreme volcanic eruptions. Like, again, if Yellowstone was to go, which it could, the good thing is it's still venting. As long as, the geysers are doing their thing, we're good. When something really weird starts happening with Old Faithful and he's no longer like on his time, because I guess he's really reliable. That geyser's,
Yeah, I checked Tsar Bomba and it was 3,800 times more than Hiroshima, though it was modified down. Originally, it was 100 megaton capacity, and it was only 50 megatons when they blew it up.
we shouldn't even be doing testing like the Koreans doing the underground nuclear testing. It's like, come on, guys. And again, to what I like there to be a means thing. What are we trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to me that our current world leaders are a little bit like really, well, not a little bit, extremely detached from the life of everyday people. And we're lucky. I mean, living here in Colorado, we have a high standard of living, much better than many places on this planet. Not to say that there's not places that are better, because there are places that maybe they're doing it just a little better. But I don't know. I haven't lived there. I like to go to Lake Powell. Hopefully it doesn't dry up. We've got a house. My parents got a houseboat down there. That's weird. Yeah, it's still mom's houseboat. I really miss my mom, guys. She was really cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry about all that.
Hey,
I
man,
know.
as you know, Keegan, it happens, and the older we get, the more of that thing we'll know it. It's just part of life. Death is part of our experience here. And again, I don't think it's the end. You guys don't, right?
Right. Yeah, no, we definitely think something happens. I mean, we've been on enough ghost hunts. Something's got to happen after for us to have caught some of the stuff that we have.
Do you think it could be a dimensional type like crossover, like where, like in Star Trek, you have multiple planes of existence, but they're out of phase with each other? Could ghosts maybe be another parallel timeline that's just slightly out of phase with ours, and we have time crossover or something? like another universe bleeding into ours somehow? Or are they literally being Tyler Henry thinks? And he's pretty believable that he's talking to the dead. He's definitely, connecting to something. Um, and again, with my mom dying, I watched a whole bunch of videos on YouTube about near death experiences, people that had died and come back. And it seems to be kind of individualistic. Like every experience is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So is it part imagination? Is it a dopamine factor in our brains going off? I mean, or is it maybe a combination of all those things? A mechanism in the body to, make death maybe less bad, but yet there's something that these folks are tapping into. I mean, whether they think they've talked with, lost relatives or an angel. And again, it's different, but they all describe this feeling of warmth and connectivity to everyone and everything. And again, psychedelics allow you to feel that. So there's got to be something to it.
I would agree. Because I know when you're like in a very like painful situation, your brain releases DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine, to try and like ease that pain and make it like more bearable, essentially. So you're not like like truly feeling lots of pain. You just kind of go with that. But then it also can create things. So that's maybe what people are seeing.
So we naturally produce a little bit of DMT in our own bodies as a pain response.
Yes, actually, it's what makes you dream as well.
Interesting. See, I'm a gunshot victim in 1977. My dad says it was 78. I remember it being 77 because the Broncos lost the Super Bowl. I was shot in the face.
Oh wow.
So, that's some of the ties to my mom, with that getting shot, all the doctor appointments, oral surgeons. And when you're 9, they can't wire your jaw, but yet my jaw was broken from the gunshot. Like, example, I recently got my eye polished. My right eye's artificial. I may be getting a new one soon. It's kind of fun when they make a new one. They just create better facial symmetry. Several, surgeries over the years, and I guess I'm gonna have to do maybe one more soon. But yeah, it's been something that I've really thought about recently. Life after death. Again with my
I'll tell you a story.
yeah.
This is the one that's always kind of gotten me. So this was happened to my dad when he was like 8, 9, I want to say. But his papu, which is his grandfather, because we're Greek, kind of passed away unexpectedly in the middle of the night. So he had no idea. And like his yaya lived long enough to meet me, so it's not like he was like super old or anything like that. But my yaya had woken up and she was obviously upset about her dad passing away, but also like upset because my dad and him were really close. So she didn't know how she was going to explain this to him. And in the morning, she saw him come out of his room and it looked like he was like talking up. And then he went into my uncle's room. And then she's like, oh man, he's going to wake up the baby. I don't know why he's going in there. And then he came back out and he was like talking up again. And then he like looked down because back in the older houses they had those like big like air kind of grates, on the side of the walls.
Yeah, like for the old heating systems.
Yeah, and so he was looking at that, and then he looked at my yaya and said, "Did you see Papu?" And she would pretend like she had just woke up, and she was like, "No, what do you mean?" And he said that he woke up because he heard like a loud whirling noise, and old son Papu was there, and his clothes like sparkled like diamonds, and he wasn't old, like he was young again, and he had come to say goodbye, and so they talked a little bit, and he wanted to go say bye to Mark, and so that's why he went in there. And then he wanted to go look in his room, which was down in the basement, and so that's why he like dissipated into a cloud and went through the vent downstairs.
Wow, and they got to see this.
Yeah,
So like, I mean, that would be enough to convince me.
yeah, no, that's been the one that's always kind of stuck with me. We've done a couple presentations and stuff, and that's the one I'm like, I don't know how you explain that one.
Again, that's that back to that energy thing. Somehow, energy can change forms. So that's a common thread. What one thing that you said is that they saw him like in his best self, like
Hmm.
young with sparkly clothes, and a lot of people express that the person they see is like that person like at their height, like when they were their best or their, kind of the peak of being young or whatever. Nobody like they don't. It's interesting how they don't really come back saying, "Oh, my grandpa was, old or whatever." That's a common thread. Everyone sees a younger version.
Right.
Have you guys experimented with the ghost box mechanism?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of different tools and stuff we use during our investigations.
I'm really fascinated. Again, if you guys decide to go up to Central City, I would love to be a guest Culz paranormal follower, to check that out and see what you guys do, because again, it's very fascinating to me. It's something I haven't recently been able to explore as much as I would like, other than YouTube and Netflix. YouTube sometimes it used to be better. Seems
Hmm.
like even in the last 6 months they've clamped down on weird, cool, interesting stuff.
I cannot confirm or deny, but
The
But yeah.
more scary, weird, interesting things. Did you guys hear any of that?
uh-uh.
Oh yeah.
The ghost box really see if they're manipulating energy. I mean, it really. I've watched a couple episodes of some different stuff, and it sounds like somebody's trying to make words through it.
Yeah, we have like a spirit box. Um, there's one that worked really well. The newer one's okay. We haven't had a lot of luck from it. EVP seems to be really good. We've gotten some pretty good footage. We actually have one piece of footage that we have an EVP from the same time of like something manifesting next to my hand, and it said Lawrence, right? Because I was asking, "What is your name?" You see this thing come by my hand, and at that same time, it says Lawrence. What made it really kind of odd was this was back when we were first getting started, and so I mean, 15 years ago plus. I don't remember at this point, but um, it was 2008. My mom though, she found like this really nice looking suitcase in a like Goodwill or the thrift store, the Ark or whatever, and she thought it was really good condition, would work well for our ghost hunting equipment, and then that way we weren't carrying around King Super bags or something like that. And when she got home to clean it, she pulled out a death certificate, and the name said Lawrence.
Lawrence was there, man.
Right?
That's pretty far out. Again, it's something that I've seen enough empirical evidence. There's got to be something to it, and there's certainly more to the universe than what we see.
Right. Well, and
Scientifically, they know that. I mean, it's a scientific fact that there are multiple dimensions. If
mhm.
there's multiple dimensions, there could be something else living in those other dimensions, or again, maybe again they're connected to this dimension. Again, some people say there's levels. Beyond here, there's levels of vibration. So, like when you go to the afterlife, man, you're at whatever level you're at. And some people need to come back down to earth. And again, I don't know. Like my dad was saying, I wanted my wife to send me a sign. You could maybe explain it by a light bulb going bad, but again, the light bulb wasn't doing anything prior before she died. I try to be a scientist at heart and, rule out stuff. I can't rule out a light bulb glitch, but I also can't rule out that it was my mom manipulating energy.
Trying to connect with you.
My mom in a dream, she said it was the most realistic dream she's ever had. Like she could smell in the dream and could feel the breeze. And again, it was my grandfather, but he was like younger. And again, he loved those old Jeep Wagoneers, not the new ones, but the old heavy steel ones. He lived up in Central City on, the weird old roads and had a cool house, liked to tinker on stuff. My grandpa was really cool, but my mom had asked him. And so there he was in a dream. And again, that's something as well. Well, like one of the last things my mom told my dad, I want to go be with my dad. So she felt pretty strongly that wherever she's going, he's there.
Yeah.
And I feel good about that. I mean, that is a relief to me. And my grandpa loves animals like I do. So animals, the spirit in animals, comes from the same place ours does. So I figure that it goes to the same place. Again, it might be about levels, but in some of the videos, again on YouTube, people have talked about they got to see their dog.
Mm-hmm.
They crossed over to the other side, had a near-death experience, and there was their dog. And man, that's super cool. If we like can reunite with our, beloved pets, our best friends here on Earth, if we have something to do on the other side with them, that would be really, really cool. It's something that I just, in my core, I want it to be, and I don't have the answer yet. But again, based upon the science, the principle of energy, I think they're probably there too. And I guess if you look at it from the dark side, if we just die, it's not going to hurt anymore. And you won't be bothered about it. You won't be pissed off. You won't be sad. You'll just be dead. But again, with all the paranormal stuff, it just doesn't seem what happens. I want to know more about it. I really do. Um, but again, the little bit of knowledge that I have brings me some peace.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be another side. And again, there's so much empirical evidence. Um, there's hoax. There's a lot of people that put out disinformation. The CIA had a giant disinformation campaign where they were trying to like confuse people so they can't recognize what's real and what's not real. Again, the I think it was the base at Dulce where literally the CIA put like ventilation shafts and all this stuff on top of a mountain and managed to like pass the word on to people and get this guy to fly over it in a helicopter. Oh, there's a military base and they got UFOs down there and stuff, but it was all just a disinformation campaign.
They definitely have an intense base in Dulce that everyone kind of knows about, but doesn't dare to go there. But it's like buried underground.
Well, I mean, once the government were to say something's there, it's definitely not anymore. It's much like there's a hotel, and I can't, I forget the state. It's like Georgia or West Virginia. It's this really big, it looks like a gigantic White House. Like it's beautiful looking hotel, but there was a whole wing that was like a secret bunker that no one knew about
It's
up
the
until it was like leaked in like 93, 92 or something like that.
That's the Grand Hotel. It's in Michigan, like on Mackinac Island. It's
Okay.
they shot the movie somewhere in time there with Christopher Reeves and Jane Seymour. And Jane Seymour was pretty hot back then. But it was a love story, and that's a beautiful, beautiful hotel. Surely haunted, for
Right.
sure. Again, they don't allow I don't think they allow motorized vehicles on the island, or at least I think it's all like horses and stuff. It's pretty neat. It's real small. Um, but yeah, it's a really neat building with cool architecture. But they built like a whole whole freaking, and maybe I got the hotels wrong, but they did. The government built a whole freaking base, like behind, like there was doors that was like a wall.
Like a blast wall.
Yeah, yeah, and you slide this big giant door open, and you have the another blast door with I don't remember if it had the ring type thing to seal it up or whatever, but yeah, I mean, Cold War era nuclear shielded frickin' blast reinforced bunkers, and there's more of them. They love to spend money, and,
Right.
and again, the gap between regular people and the elites is more and more of the money. It's rather interesting in the music business, just trying to get paid. Right now, I make more off my chorus site than I do off my music because my singer messed up my copyright. Oh,
Yeah.
if you have one glitch in the matrix because it's all electronic now,
Hmm.
they'll just not pay you. And
That's
so I'm
awesome.
getting played a ton on the radio, but not making the money. I'm not seeing the royalties that I should. Like I did a TV thing. I with Brandon Lloyd of the Denver Broncos. I went in the studio with him, did some drumming for him, and that was an interesting experience recording in the hip hop studio. We had the studio would spin. It had this weird spinny thing about it,
Okay.
and one center room, but then again, like three, two smaller rooms, a vocal booth, and then the drum room, which was pretty cool. Bigger, high ceilings are cool. Like I want to record at my dad's airport. I think I can get that Led Zeppelin reverb, natural reverb that they got like on When the Levee Breaks. I think in that room I could get some just huge drum recordings. Right now, I just have Pop's drum kit there, but I may this summer move one of my kits to the airport, set it
Hmm.
up like this so we can play a little bit together. It would be really good for him to de-stress, Pop de-stress, play your drums. He likes Sandy Nelson. He's a
Okay.
50s drummer. He did Team B and Let There Be Drums, which again, a lot of people have done covers of Let There Be Drums. It's kind of like Wipeout, I guess, a little bit more complicated. Um, Sandy Nelson's cool. I actually really like him myself. Very melodic and danceable, but very a really good rudimentary drummer, like highly skilled at playing rudiments and incorporating them into a groove, like a groove solo, but not playing a beat. In a solo, doing slow runs and using single stroke rolls, not a single stroke rolls with accents, um, but just really well thought out. And then the people that were doing his bass lines, you have to respect the musicians of that era. They couldn't do punch ins and stuff. They couldn't clip. Well, they could. Like you could cut tape and resplice it. You could
Hmm.
cut tape and spin it around. And they certainly, like ELO with the early backmasking stuff. Certainly have. I'm sure they probably copied the tape because you would not ever want to do that to your master, but they probably transferred Studer to Studer because they use like I forget, is it 1 inch tape, Studer to Studer 1 inch? I forget. Anyway, they probably transferred the Studer tape, clipped the tape, spun it around so it was backwards to get their backmaskings back then. Now we have even like I've got a program in my Boss BR 1600, and I've got two of them now. I can link them together. So they form a 16-track studio together. I've not unleashed that yet. I'm still for drums. I really only need 8. It's way more than the Beatles and the technology, the digital technology. That Boss, it was ahead of its time. It's a little complicated and it's a little hard to edit on it, but for tracking, it's a brilliant machine. It's probably got 300 or so different Boss programs, whether they be vocal correctors, pitch shifters. It's got all the Boss pedals for guitars. It's got multiple. It's even got like a Geddy Lee setting, from Rush. You got to dial it in a little bit, but it's a setting where you can make a Geddy bass. you can get that kind of a tone. And I love it because for a home studio, it's just what you need. All the plugins are built into the unit. You don't have to buy all these plugins to add on to your, your digital audio workstation on your computer. This one, you still do it with your ear and sliders. So it's old school in the fact that you get to touch it. And you have to do
Yeah.
manual pans and like if they goofed on the volume, or like, say, example, in the early days when I was recording some of Shane's bands, seems like kid bass players always have crappy basses with really bad pickups. And so you get a really uneven signal from that type of instrument. It's a good bass guitar kind of stays up in here, and you'll get some fluctuation from the dynamics of the composition of whatever the bass player is playing. But it's it's really interesting how technology can fix some of that stuff. Pick that track with a mediocre pickup and naturalize it and balance that level a little bit. So there, it's like in the early days, recording the kids was really interesting because I had to work harder at music production to make things sound good, because again, the instruments aren't quite yet up to par. We all go through that. My first, even though I was lucky because my parents bought me a Ludwig rocker, and I wish I would not have traded it in. Wish I would have kept it. DW is going to start making Slingerland drums again, and they're my favorite. Again, there's a Shane recorded many times using my kits, even though they don't. Again, back then they didn't record the way I like to record. I want to start with a scratch track and a click. And if the bass player is good enough and he has an idea, he can lay one down too in addition. But really, if you start with a click track and a guitar, it's the entire composition, and the guitar player needs to be good enough that it's not all squirrely and all over the place, that at least it's cohesive with the timing. Again, you have your click track, which is the guide. It also helps you to put the music all back together if you're working on multiple workstations. For example, we would be using my Boss. Lance likes digital audio workstation, and I'm sure he has Pro Tools now. But there's many good audio workstations, and even free ones that are good. However, I will say this: I grew up in the analog age of cassette tapes and records. If you have a clean record and a really good record player, drums do not sound better on anything than they do on vinyl, because you have the whole waveform. Digital blocks things and takes what it considers to be basically like air or white noise and removes it.
So you lose some of that.
The nature of music. It's why in Fragile X, while we still could, but we recorded on Studer tape, analog first. The process is it's not anadig. It was called Digilog. Sometimes they were going digital and then sending it back to digital. But again, digital is what it is. Like, example, if you take a Windows audio lossless file, it's compressed a little bit, but if you import it like you would a WAV file, they both wind up being the same size. Just the way digital works. But again, in music, there's some new formats I think that have come out that are probably beyond me or whatever. But damn, forget what I was trying to say. Analog is still the best if you can somehow incorporate it into the process. Again, I love the analog nature of my digital machine. It makes it a little more real, a little more. It's fun to have to like move the slider up and down to make something right. Like if somebody peaked or had their, at 133 of the song, someone's clipping out and you're getting a signal spike, and you don't want that in your recording because it's going to glitch. One thing I've learned over the years that I want to share this would be good for all young musicians, even old cats. Low volume recording. everyone cranks it up when they're mastering their stuff, when they're doing their final mix, man. You turn it up, turn it up. If you turn music down, and this is really cool, it took me years of just listening and being a drummer. You listen and watch a lot in the studio. But in doing that, I learned a lot about volume. And so what as you're turning a song down, if you have something that's weak or light in the mix, it's going to go away first. And you don't want that. You want everything to have a pulse, like you've got your kick drum and your snare that are the pulse of the music. The bass frickin' should modulate and move in between or with the drummer, depending on the band and the type of music. But polyphonic bass added in. Um, Lost my train of thought again. It's been a rough day today, guys.
No, you're
No
good.
worries.
I mean, I can definitely draw some parallels to like filming on actual film versus like digital. And that's why like there's a boutique Blu-ray is what they call them, but they take these old films from like the 1920s up to like modern time, but anything that's been actually filmed on film, and they
Right.
restore them. And they look better than things that are filmed today. And that's a lot of times too because they have so much CGI today. You can only go up to less than 2K. Like you can't even get to 4 full K, so don't buy it unless it's like an old film. But yeah, I mean, film itself, like if you're filming on digital versus actual film, you'll see a lot less.
Just meaning that film actually captures more.
Mhm.
Like it's crisper and I mean, I've shown Sam some films from the 1920s and stuff that they've redone because it's on film and it looks like it was shot today. And I
Yeah,
don't
it
think a
looks.
digital film would do the same thing.
There's a drummer that I like. Um, his name is Jimmy Vincent, and he played for the Louis Prima Orchestra. And
Okay.
again, I think some of that old black and white footage, the audio and the film, has been restored because it doesn't look bad at all. And it's amazing, that they could get that much sound out of one mic and then, lay it in a two-track because, as film, audio is a two-track,
Yeah.
your left and right to get your stereo. And then you have your film. Like my dad was a film editor um, before he got into space systems operations, but he made films for the government actually, like Operation Teamwork, B-52 flares, um, some pretty cool stuff. He has letters from the Pentagon, because they were training films. He did one with the Broncos. Again, they lost in the Super Bowl, but Red Miller and all them guys. That was Operation Teamwork, kind of the parallel. Hey, this is the Air Force. We need to be a team. Look at how the Denver Broncos are a team. They're going all the way this year. Um,
Right.
so he had a lot of fun, and again through osmosis, I've learned just a little bit. And it's all fascinating that these old analog forms of media are such great ways to capture stuff. And then, like Keegan was saying, you can come in digitally now, like the old black and white, like the World War II stuff that they put color to. And now I don't know, I guess they've really improved the computer programs that help them to do it. But man, they're making that stuff really like it's almost like watching it for the first time again because they're restoring it, to a level where you can. It's kind of amazing. You almost imagine in your imagination,
That it was black and white.
black and white, but it's not. It was just as colorful as it is today. Again, like the 70s, we dressed really weird, and people again 20 years from now will think we dress weird. Like, why did they have all that stuff on their hats and t-shirts, man? But
Right.
again, it's what we do. It's what's comfortable. Like you're wearing a hoodie, and I love hoodies.
Yeah.
At least we're this generation or our generation is comfortable. We're not precocious about the way we dress like previous generations. I don't. If I'm going like Shane's wedding, of course I dressed up. Unless it's something like that, I like my jeans and stuff. And then if I can, they're dorkier, but some kind of shorts. Playing drums in the summertime.
Mhm.
You get hot when you're playing for a long time. As the drummer, you have to work the hardest, at least physically, anyway.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah,
my cousin.
yeah, I was
Really
gonna say
insane.
Sam's cousin's a drummer, so
Oh, right on. Yes.
Yeah, and actually, his granddad is Red Miller, so he'll probably enjoy you mentioning the Broncos and Red Miller.
What's that about the Broncos and Red Miller, Sam?
Oh, my cousin's grandfather is Red Miller, so he'll appreciate that like mention in there,
Small world sometimes, huh? But yeah, that's just
right?
some cherished memories from my pop. Let him know like it was good.
can you see that?
Yeah,
So that's like
Yeah.
they yeah, they shall not grow old. They went and redid Peter Jackson redid all the old World War I footage, and it looks like it was shot today. Like I recommend that movie.
Can you type Peter Jackson World War One? I want to see that, man. That World War One was freaking brutal. That's a
Right.
war that there should have never been any more wars after that war. We should have learned our lesson. It was bad. They didn't understand PTSD yet.
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you search Peter Jackson World War I, it will pop up. And it looks like it's on HBO Max right now if you have that.
Ah, I don't. I don't have that subscription. Trying to cut
And
down
then
on my cable costs.
I have a
Yeah.
question for you about kind of drumming a little bit. My
Sure.
cousin just showed recently this like symbol that like sounds like almost like someone actually clapping. Have you like seen anything about that or know anything about that symbol?
No, I like it's it actually like is making a clapping sound like.
Yeah,
I mean, that would
yeah,
be
it's like
interesting, like especially if it's like acoustic.
yeah, it's like an acoustic symbol. I have to send Keegan the video and I'll have him send it to you. But it's actually really fascinating because it sounds really close to like a clap.
And
It's
it's
pretty
actually
cool.
a symbol. It's not electronic. It's
Yeah,
actually a
no,
piece of
it's an
metal.
actual symbol.
I wonder
Yeah,
if yeah, I'd be interested to see how it works. I have not seen that or heard of it, but that's interesting. And again, there are certain applications where that could be kind of neat. Again, dance music, electronic music. I'm interested to see how it creates the sound. I was just saying, I'm
yeah,
interested Sam, to see how it creates the sound. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
no, it's definitely super cool.
There's new technology, like you could get a freaking thing that attaches to your drum seat. Just all kinds of cool little things. Like it was kind of probably 10 or 15 years ago now. They came out with a little. It looks like a snare drum, but it's an amplifier for your kick drum to enhance like some of the bass response and bass notes. It's like a weird drum microphone amplifier thing that Yamaha did, and again looked like a little snare drum in front of your kick drum, and acted electronically with some type of electronics in it as an additional bass capturing device for your kick drum to get more thud, perhaps more 12K, that Lars Ulrich thing where you can hear the slap. You can probably Rush, Neil Peart probably has the best kick drum tones, and he only used a Slingerland or a DW snare, so his snare tones are really good too. But I like ELO a lot too, the way that the Bevins mixed. Obviously Zeppelin, obviously Sabbath, and all them guys, man, were analog. Like, thank goodness Metallica came out with a good song. Have you guys heard that Lux Eterna? I like it.
Is
It's
it a new one?
Yeah, it like came out like I don't know a couple months ago. Like they're teasing like their new album, and I like totally became disinterested in Metallica, Keegan. And it's this new song is kind of like going back to Kill 'Em All with better production.
Okay.
And it's got some double bass in it. Again, finally, it's just cool. And like some guys were, well, it's not like super complicated like Dream Theater or whatever. It's Metallica, man. It's not going to be that complicated, but it's neat. They wrote
Right.
song that's very Metallica and very much reminds you of old Metallica, which I really liked when I was younger. But again, there's just after frickin' Some Kind of Monster, them just frickin' yelling at each other and being stupid, I became disinterested.
Yeah.
And it was neat that they came out with the song that really porting back to their, their heyday when I was a kid. And hey, check out this new music. Back when Metal Church was around, and Metal Church was as popular at first, or at least in the circles that I ran in, as Metallica. Metal Church's first album's classic. Like if you like metal and you don't have that album, man, you should get it. Just Metal Church, Metal Church. It's like something everyone, because it was the start of kind of the prog metal, like they were even before like King Diamond or any of that real prog technical metal. It's just really good. Again, later on they had some growler vocals, which I don't really appreciate. I like people to sing. Um, but
This one,
yeah, that one.
I'll add it to my playlist. I make a big music playlist for when we do our road trips, so I'll
The
throw it on
song,
there.
oh Keegan, man, I'm like the song Metal Church has just got this cool drum beat groove that's just I really like the drummer for Metal Church. And again, he stuck with them. I think he's still the same guy. I could be wrong about that. Maybe we'll have to find out. But yeah, they're different. Metal Church is its own thing in its own little place in metal history. And they just never got as big as Metallica and Megadeth. But they came out around the same time, even like obscure bands like Sarith Ungol. Sarith Ungol actually was when I finally got to see them live. They finally performed over in Europe, and they're like my age. They're I was kind of surprised. They like freaking duplicated the sound of their albums. And again, they started out, they were very primitive. It's like, wow, these guys got signed. Some of the like the keyboards on their first record, garbage. But again, man, check out that Metal Church and get back to me. Let me know what you think. Again, it's got a little bit of Sabbathy metal, that modern metal, and the guitar player is freaking wicked good. The bass player is great. The drummer's phenomenal, and it's different and it's more raw, like Black Sabbath is. There's something really organic about it. And maybe I got to see them live at, there used to be a bar. It's like a hamburger place now, and they have sides of beef. When you go in, you can see the meat like hanging. I forget what it's called. It was Fuddruckers, maybe. Maybe it's not even there anymore. But got to see Metal Church in a small setting up close. And it was cool. I also saw Sabotage at Bangles.
Okay.
That was a bar, really popular bar for basically the metal and rock music scene back when I was growing up. That was I love Sabotage. A lot of them are in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra now. John Oliva, just a great songwriter. He did a lot of cocaine though. And then when he quit, I don't know if he really totally quit, but he got really heavy. He went from being a wiry, skinny dude to really like getting heavy. And it affected his vocals a little bit, I think. I think that, I don't appreciate his singing now, like his young voice. Because he could do the raw rough thing, but I don't want raw rough all the time. And again, John likes to smoke. So, but man, his keyboards, like they still do believe in the Trans-Siberian. I love that song. But
Yeah,
do
I've
you know,
never seen the Trans-Siberian in person. Like I definitely want to.
I haven't either, but it would be worth seeing at the light show.
Hmm.
And again, it's they kind of took what ELO did and evolved it in this different way that's really cool and neat. And again, the musicians that are in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, all of them are just really, truly, to be in that band, you have to be gifted. What do you think, Sam? Do you like them?
Um, I haven't heard too much. They're not too bad, but when I go to metal, I'm kind of more into that like sludge metal where it's like the deep screaming vocals and like the screaming
You
things.
like the guttural stuff.
Yeah, I do really enjoy that.
No,
But
it's
I
got
did like Metallica and Sabbath and Pantera back in the day. They kind of like got me into that like more grungy metal, but
who's your favorite dark metal band?
ooh, at the moment I really enjoy Ginger and then also Lorna Shore. But like what like brought me more into like the heavier side was a band called Necrophagist and Behemoth.
Okay. Actually, I think I've heard of Behemoth.
Yeah, Behemoth is definitely like kind of like an older one. Like their drummer, like my cousin would always like show me videos of the drummer who was like named Inferno, and like he was
On fire!
really
He's on fire!
right. No, he was a wicked drummer, and then he would also show me videos of like Romain Goulan and Marco Miniman, and like they were very fast, technical, like metal drummers.
Mhm.
And Marco Miniman, yeah, like watching those videos, I was just like, that is insane. Because like
On,
I would
man.
watch them, and then like he would play, and like he would try and do that, and I'm like, and I even tried drumming for a little bit, but like I couldn't get my like I can get like both my hands doing something separate, but I couldn't get like all four of my limbs to do like things separately. It was mad respect to you guys because that is not an easy task.
Yeah, we have to train ourselves to eventually get there, Sam. I mean, there was a point when I sucked. And probably for a while I sucked. And even maybe when I thought I didn't suck anymore, I still maybe was sucking. And then when I actually started to get good, I still thought I sucked. But then as I got older and I found out that any indie radio station would play my music, I'm like, well, people like it. Well, we must be doing something good. And it's multiple bands. And the neat thing, Sam, is I've got to do multiple styles. Like Cat Blue was like blues rock. And Imaginos was like freaking Evanescence influenced metal. We had a chick singer, two chick singers, and we did a lot of vocals ourselves too, a lot of lower stuff. And that if you have a chance, check out the song "Dark Embrace" on my YouTube channel. You can there you can see Angry Drum Solo, but check out the song "Dark Embrace." It's just a song video. It's got a picture of the album cover up there.
Okay.
Uh, I think you'll like Imaginos. Imaginos is like a dark Evanescence. Um,
Oh,
I really liked drumming in that band. I had a lot of fun. It definitely was metal, and we have our own little niche. And I don't promote that band as much because again, the singer and the main writer guy, he kind of just after he did it, he got on with back working for the school district and doing karate with his kids. He just got really busy. And it's too bad because I really loved what we were doing. Um, but at least we put together an album. And it's a good album. It's very different again. Imaginos Dark Embrace on my YouTube channel, Keegan.
Hmm.
YouTube.com/Sean Page Drummer. There's a couple Fragile X videos up there going back home that we shot with the Institute of Art. And then we had wound up having to use some of our own footage. I actually shot some of that video. It was going to be extra stuff, but I captured some stuff that was able to kind of paint the scene we wanted. And then Pop's really good at editing, like probably like you are. He can work with multiple layers. And he's like, man, digital is so easy. He's working. It's really neat because film is a lot like audio, and you're obviously working with audio too. But you have the multiple tracks, and then where you're clipping in and out. You have your main feed that's your timeline.
And your
You know,
transitions and
yeah, it's really cool, man. Again, it takes like music, doing that takes a talent. Like the stuff my dad does just blows my mind. And now I'll watch more of now that I have a little more time. I've always wanted to see Shane's video. Just had a bunch of things going on. Broken washing machines. That was interesting. When you can't get your laundry soap out of your clothes, they're very itchy. So you don't realize like till like the hot water heater went out before that. My house is at that age. You do not realize how much you appreciate hot water in a washing machine so you don't have one for a couple of weeks.
Right.
I'm like trying to nurse the old one. Come on, as its transmission's dying, it's all and I'm like, please, just running it twice, please, using just a little bit of. But yeah, it was time. And the new one's really good. I've now wound up getting a Maytag that's kind of old school still. It's not just a bunch of bells and whistles electronics. It kind of washes clothes. I don't need my stuff to stack and have a computer a computer entry pad for my washer and dryer. It worked out good, and I got another Maytag. The last one lasted like 20 years. But yeah, it's dumb. But now I get excited about washing machines and hot water heaters. Not being able to take a shower for like once it gets to a week, like, hey Dad, can I come over? Again, hot water heaters. Whoever invented the hot water heater, I love that guy. The heat pump, whoever. Hot water is such a thing that we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were like freaking having to like live like the homeless people, boiling it, over a flame, that's how you just a totally different world prior to plumbing and hot water heaters. Again, we could go down a technological rabbit hole, how mankind, I mean, really, these are really, we've built some really neat things that are in our homes that we just don't even think about, but that I'm like feeling lately really grateful for. Again, hot water is so wonderful. I love having it. The new hot water heater is great. I learned hard water out here in Elizabeth, so all of the metal in the water gets attracted to the heating element, and then just starts to coat it, and then again it just decreases its ability to heat the water until it don't heat the water no more. But you don't want to get that type of heating element. It's a certain like I think that was an Anana heating element, so it shouldn't do that. So I've learned a little bit about appliances, things you normally don't have to mess with very much. And again, I'm grateful. I'm hoping that my mom made it to the other side. I think that she did. I wish, my little buddy Shane all the success of the world. I'd love to see the fact that he's drumming. Because drumming is fun. Drumming makes me smile. Like it was fun talking with Sam about, the drummers that he likes. And again, what's so cool is drummers come in all kinds of different flavors, like guitar players do. And some of them are really, really good and really fun to listen to and or interesting to watch. I like guys that put on a show. Bevan from ELO, very like happy drumming. Neil Peart, very serious, but I've seen Neil Peart make mistakes because I've seen Rush every time that they came to Denver that I could remember as an adult. I did not go to the moving pictures tour. I wish that I would have. That time I was really into ELO and Black Sabbath. I got to see ELO in '81 on the Time Tour. Great concert. ELO does neat things with light. And there was incense. They like lit off a block of incense or something. You haven't smoked weed yet. It smells really good, even though you're not familiar with it yet. That's one thing I remember about that concert, man. There was people, more than one. And again, I believe that ELO, when the robot came out, they needed, there was probably fog machines and stuff too, because they had like this blue light beam shining down on the robot. And again, to really get that stuff, you got to have some type of something in the air, particularly to catch the light. But yeah, Bob, I think they called him Bob. And he does the Time album intro is how they started the Time tour. The robot comes out and the blue light shining down. He's all talking in his computer voice. That's another really good album if you like conceptual albums. Time by ELO. It's cool. And there's some really, really, really good songs on that album, like Ticket to the Moon. It's not metal. It's freaking, it's rock. but it's piano, orientated rock, but really good. Um, but again, definitely check out Imaginos. That one song's on YouTube. I'm not sure if Brian ever, put it up for sale on iTunes or not. For a while, we were selling through Reverb Nation, and then Reverb Nation stopped doing all the cool things. Like they would do cool sublimation T-shirts that weren't that expensive, and you could order them on demand. Upper management broke down or something, and I don't think they're doing any of that stuff anymore. Like I was looking at Vic Firth a few years ago, you could get your names put on a stick. And I like a pretty specific stick called an SD2 Bolero. It's actually like an orchestral stick for doing pit work. Like again, you wouldn't use it on a timpani, but any type of very good for articulate stick motion. But that stick applies itself really well to the drum set. You just have to throw it away when you wear out the tips. It has small tips. Small tips will punch when they wear out. They'll punch a hole in a drum head. Drum heads are expensive. Right now they cost $20 and up, maybe a little less for a little one, but like it's hit everything. I went grocery shopping the other day. Holy manoli. What used to cost me $200 cost over $300.
I
Yep.
mean, gas is the same way. We were actually in Elizabeth, not what was that Saturday, Sunday, and one of
Saturday.
the it was the
You guys
gas.
were out here in Republican land.
It was by that gas station by Taco Bell there.
So Murphy Express.
Yeah, and it was $9.99. Was what it was.
Nine for what? Diesel?
No, just for regular. Like I took a picture.
Holy.
Yeah, because we were like, we're not gonna see that again. Hopefully not.
Hopefully that was it an error? Did you guys have to pay that?
Oh yeah, it was an error. Like I guess the next day or like the next morning, it was like 389.
So it was supposed to be like $4,
Yeah,
which again, and what's funny, we actually, if you look at the world gasoline prices, America has the cheapest gas right now going out of all the developed countries. And it's not, Biden does not control gas prices. He can make a little dent like he did with the oil reserves, but it's big business. The big business is starting to control everything, the media. And once they have it, like if they take it much further, we no longer will be living in a democracy, my friends. We will be living in an autocracy, which again, this democracy or this democratic republic or this republic, I don't care what people want to call it, but it will fail. Just like the Romans failed and the Greeks failed because people got greedy. They frickin' spread themselves too thin and they frickin', started frickin' like civil internal wars. And again, that's where we're at right now with this frickin' Republican Democrat thing. It's so dumb. People really like say this is 12 o'clock. People are like maybe that far apart. Maybe the Democrat leans left a little bit. Again, it seems like education tends to make you liberal. It just does. And I was Phi Theta Kappa in college. But I also have some conservative ideas. I consider myself a centrist that leans slightly left. But truly, again, somewhere in the center is where we all meet and can say, all right, I can give a little bit that way, or I can give a little bit. We're not doing that. Oppositional politics started by Newt Gingrich during the Reagan years, and now we're all paying for it. And the plan is run amok. We're like a runaway freight train that's heading for the gorge. And I wish people would wake up. I've been saying it for years. I mean, I make my Quora page is making money because people are certainly interested in what's going on. I just want to get the truth out. I couldn't do it on Facebook. So stumbling around, I found this site, Quora. It's a question site. Formed a page. Oh, you could do ad sharing and revenue sharing. The next thing you know, I'm making $70 a month to just share ideas and facts. And it's really interesting. I get both sides, and that's what makes the page go. And the
Right.
more I stay out of it, there's still someone, like, again, I have moderators that will moderate the post. They know what not to put up. They're really good. It's really turned out to be a really neat thing, and I just stumbled upon it because I could never tell the truth on Facebook. Period. Either way, because again, sometimes I'm leaning right with my ideas, and sometimes I'm leaning a little bit left with my ideas. But either way, I was getting in trouble on Facebook, literally for telling the truth or what I thought. But again, if you try to disseminate information properly, you're going to be telling the truth. Again, I don't understand people that lie. I don't want to have to worry about that shit. I straight up. I wish people would just be nicer to each other, realize that everyone's got problems. You know, again, that thinking is he having a bad day today. If you can maybe somehow think that, maybe we could get somewhere. And again, maybe we could start building spaceships and start like exploring more. That's part of what we're supposed to do, is explore, learn, whether it's you guys exploring the paranormal or now all with myself in music. I mean, music is a journey. It's an inner exploration. You're expressing. My Navigator album, my solo album, is really based upon some of what I was feeling at the time that I wrote it. And it's dark. It's very Pink Floyd, ELO, Beatles, space opera thing. Navigator is harder to find though, because I kept it kind of under the cuff for a while.
Okay.
I wasn't sure about, like your own singing, because I'm a drummer. And so I wasn't sure, but then, everyone that listens like, man, I like it. You should release Navigator. For a while, I was using Light Scribes to just manufacture everything right here in the office. And that was fun, but it's very slow. But Light Scribe, I hope that it's not totally done, because you can actually print a CD where it's on the CD. It's not a stupid label. And that's one thing I always hated about indie stuff, is like a lot of it was, here, put a sticker on your CD that's spinning around and around. It's just not, it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Light Scribe's a way that you can print at home, but I don't think they're making it in computers anymore. It was, again, a cool thing, but maybe didn't catch on enough to stick. Again, this computer, I think it was telling me that it's 8 years old. It's either 8 or 15. I did some kind of, I analyzed the computer at Hewlett Packard today. I went to the website and just did a check on it. And then, yeah, they're like, oh, it's pretty old. Obsolescence. I'm from that old school, man. I've been trying for years to get people interested in drum wars. You just do a solo, post it online or whatever, and then the next guy watches it, freaking downloads it or whatever, so he can play along or find out, get the meter, and then give your answer back. Shoot a video of the answer drum solo, like Krupa and Buddy Rich back in the old days, man, when the drummers were the show. Those were the first prog. They were the metal drummers of their day. It's really neat how drums, like, they kind of forced their way in and managed to get really big in the big band era. And again, if you have a chance, check out Jimmy Vincent and the Louis Prima Orchestra doing Sing, Sing, Sing.
Okay.
Really cool piece of music, all black and white. But Jimmy Vincent is a cool drummer. He's got a cool solo that's kind of like. And he's really cool. He freaking plays on just his cymbals. And again, it was back when drummers were just starting to do it.
Nice. I honestly may have heard that before, but I'm trying to remember.
Louis Prima and Sing, Sing, Sing.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's on YouTube. And again, you need to get the the frickin' orchestrated frickin' rocking out big band one, because there's several different versions of it.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I think the one that you want to look for is Lewis Prima Orchestra, Sing Sing Sing, featuring Jimmy Vincent. And there's lots of clips of Jimmy, because again, he does a really cool drum solo in it. And he's lesser known, but he's the same era as Krupa and Buddy Rich, which again, every drummer should study those guys. Buddy Rich was phenomenal. I mean, his ability to play traditional grip, his frickin' snare rolls, that guy just rudimentarily was just unbelievably good. Him and Neil Peart, technically, because again, you need to be in something that people listen to. Dream Theater will never be as big as Rush. They never ever will be. They don't understand. Peart did. Neil Peart understood that really good words could still be like a prog band could get played on the radio.
Mhm.
Again, Rush is the greatest prog band of all time as far as getting on the radio. Again, Dream Theater is phenomenal, but there's a reason Portnoy like left. He got bored. There's a reason why Mickey D left King Diamond and went to Motorhead. It seems it's like kind of weird, but again, a little bit more accessible music. And again, this is, I guess, stuff now. Some of this stuff's old. The alternative would be that I didn't make it. And again, you guys will see someday when you get to be 50. It just changes. The game changes a little bit. Drumming, I have to work. I have to work harder at it now. And there's some things that I won't physically torment myself through, like some of the speed metal that I played as a kid. I wouldn't do like whole sets of that. Just that wouldn't be fun. But it would be fun to fricking do one or two songs from like my first band, Onyx Rook, the first band that ever got played on the radio. The one that I don't promote at all anymore because some of it's childlike to me. First stuff we ever did, the first recordings I ever got to make. But I think the whole thing about music is it's about fun and messages or stories. You know, you're trying to not necessarily convince folks, but take them on a ride. Again, like we're talking about, a good D&D game is a cool story. And like Sam was saying, when people are role playing their characters, they're actually in the role. I am Gargath Doth. I will move this rock for you. Yeah, it's really, that's what makes the game. Again, I think people that are colorful make good music. I think people that have passion, that's what Shane has. Yeah, that's like some of the people that he jams with, I think really like should just really be great.
Yeah, we got to see
Mine
one of
Shane,
his shows.
what's that, Keaton?
We got to see one of his shows. He when they who did they open up for? Moonshine Bandits down in the Springs.
Was it at the studio? At
Um,
Sunshine Studios or
yeah,
something?
yeah. But he was just up there having a blast, and like it's always good to see.
What he knows what to play for the music that he's playing. He doesn't overplay, which again, it takes skill to not overplay sometimes. And Shane's really good at just keeping a groove. He's like it and watching them for years, and I've seen him on really good nights, and I've seen them on their bad days too. Again, musicians that are like football players or other. In a way, you're an athlete.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's kind of interesting the parallels. But yeah, you're gonna get out of life what you put into it, man. So live and be. Remember, it's your movie that you're starring in. Don't. I think it was Bob Proctor that said, "Don't be an extra in your own movie," or he stole it from somebody. Because again, Bob Proctor was really good at taking other people's ideas and getting them out to people. That's another thing, a rabbit hole if you guys are interested in. The Proctor Gallagher Institute, some of his stuff about the law of vibration. It correlates to the other one, the law of attraction, which is quote unquote the secret. All they're talking about is vibrating at a higher frequency. I know that it works because sometimes I've done this in my own life when I bought my R-Line Beetle, my first new car, $23,000 car. You know, I make frickin' right now, 12,000 a year, barely making it, but making it. But I have really good medical, which being the gunshot victim, I need the medical. But I wanted that car so bad, and it's all I could think about like for 2 years. It was actually better when I got the car. It brought tears to my eyes. It's the only new car I've ever bought in all my life, and I love it. It's tuned. I take it to Bandimere. It likes to freaking pick on muscle cars, and they don't know what hit them. It's a little 6-speed manual. It's stage one APR. It's putting out about 254 horsepower and about 300 foot-pounds of torque. And you can go all the way to stage 3 with a Volkswagen. Again, they set the Beetle land speed record with what was called the LSR. It was an R-line Beetle with whatever they're allowed to do to the cars. It has to be
legal.
setting the speed record. Anyway, it's this body, 205 miles per hour sustained for 1 mile at the salt flaps. So Volkswagen does hold the land speed record for the world's fastest Beetle again, and it's one like mine. This is actually my car. We didn't want to have copyright infringement with anyone saying, "Oh, that's like our stuff." So we literally took my own, and we were showing people that were about the water cooled stuff too, because if there was a problem in the Volkswagen community, this wasn't just Colorado, but the air cooled folks and the water cooled folks were having a feud, just like the Democrat Republican thing. And it's so stupid. We're like, hey man, if you drive a Volkswagen, we don't care if it's electric. And now we have electric showing up. We actually had to make a trophy class for VW on the Green for the electric cars. And there'll be probably more than one for sure that shows up. I know we have a guy in the club, and they're interesting. The ID4 is 4-wheel drive. It's got like 2 motors in it. It's got like bigger front wheels than the back wheels because of being electric. And it weighs 5,000 pounds. Really heavy, but almost as fast as I am. Being that, pretty electrics have a lot of torque and it's instant. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. Electrics might make a good drag race car. I don't think it's the whole answer. I think we need alternative fuel because we have all these combustion engine vehicles that, again, I have a 39 Mercury. I want to drive it. And I want to drive. So I'm hoping that what Audi and Porsche have been working on the last, 20 years, it's been a while, but a much more environmentally friendly fuel that acts like gasoline does for combustion in our combustion engine vehicles. That'd be super neat. And I think it's part of the solution because, again, you're always going to, because of antiques and people's interest in cars, you're always going to have to, what are they going to do? You got to rip your motor out, throw an electric in there. My motor's almost a museum piece. My car's 6 volts still. Which, again, if you ever are restoring a car, do it in 12 volt. Even though the 6 volt is period correct, 12 volt is highly superior to 6 volt. I hate 6 volt. You can't see at night. It's worthless. I even have halogen bulbs that I got for the 6 volt system. And they're just with modern lights. They just don't put out enough light. You get blinded. So it's a daytime car, and it looks cool. It's 39 Mercury Tudor sedan. It's literally, it's like a 2-door car, has just the 2 doors, but it was on the English styling Tudor.
Fair. Good to know. Good to know.
See, I almost wonder if you've ever seen our buddy Alan used to live out in Elizabeth. Or Kiowa, I guess, but
does he work on cars or drive a specific kind of vehicle? Like, again, I go to car shows quite a bit. That's not a hobby. Music is not a hobby to me. It's kind of, I guess, a way of life.
Yeah, let's see. I have a video of him. He had a couple different Chevelles and then his 70 Nova.
70 Nova, man, that's my favorite year of Nova. I would love to have a 70 Nova. I was born in 68, so everything from like 68 through like 71.
Mm-hmm.
So like 72, 73 is when they started getting weird and making, all the smog crap, and they were underpowering the Corvette and stuff. But prior to that, man, the late 60s, early 70s, man, a lot of neat cars. The Mustang was really cool back then. The Beetle was super neat.
I'm trying to find a
Definitely
video
were.
of it.
And again, like the Chevy Nova is just beautiful.
I think it should pop up here soon because this is what from one of our videos.
I'll definitely be checking out more of you guys. Oh, nice. So who's Nova? Was it?
Our buddy Alan.
For sure, that one. That's cool, man. Big tire and everything.
Yeah.
Black like Murder Nova. So there's nothing better looking than a black 70 Nova. They're just freaking hot. I dig them, man. But yeah, I would say cars and motorcycles and animals outside of music are things that really drive me. I would like to see animals get more rights. Again, when I was a kid, they taught us that everything was because of instinct and operant conditioning. It's not. Animals think like we do. It might be slightly more simple. Like maybe that's good. Like they're saying like a dog catching a frisbee, all the calculations that he has to make to run at the right speed and jump and catch it and all that he's thinking a whole bunch. And it makes sense
Right.
to me. I never believed that garbage. I'm like, no, that's just not right. But again, my parents were animal people. So if even from being a baby, I was around cats and dogs. And I hopefully we'll just start taking a little bit better care of our planet, and being better to everybody, whether it be people, animals. Like again, it seems like for every ounce of let's say for every pound of trash we're taking out of the ocean, we have good people that are taking trash out of the ocean. I think somewhere somebody's dumping 2 pounds of trash for the one that we're taking out. We have to get to a point where we're not doing it anymore. We could be cleanly incinerating a lot of this stuff. We could be producing power from it. And then, using the proper smokestack regulation to clean, we finally broke the mystery of cold fusion, the impulse drive from Star Trek. We understand the basics of that now. Clean nuclear energy that does not produce these horrible byproducts that have an unbelievably long shelf life. Again, compared to like we don't live long. And that again, also, guys, because life is so short, also I think is another reason to ponder that there's probably something more.
What is your
I haven't got it all done. I haven't even, gone down enough rabbit holes to be satisfied. Any kind of exploration. I know if I see Sam's nodding his head too, like it's just fun to go on adventures.
Yeah, we do a lot.
Have you guys ever done the Randonautica thing? There's an app on your phone, and you basically you think of like some kind of thing you want to manifest, and then there's a couple things you got to type in parameter wise, and it'll search out into the universe and find you a location to go find and explore.
Okay.
And some people have found some really far out shit. Might be coincidence.
People found some scary stuff too. I know about that
app. Yeah, like dead bodies and things. Weird stuff in freaking boxes or coolers. It's all rotten and decayed. Yeah, man, they found some bizarro shit from Randonautica.
I saw this video of this dude who came across this fence, and this fence was just had a bunch of these really strange dolls and various different ways, and some of them were hanging, and
so
it just looked really bizarre.
I've seen that video. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I went down the Randonautica rabbit hole. Like, what is this Randonautica thing that the kids are doing? And then I saw that adults over in England were doing it too. And again, like Sam's saying, Keegan, some people found some really bizarro stuff. And if they weren't playing Randonautica, they wouldn't have found it. So it operates on it's a quantum physics modality in the programming, isn't it, Sam? It's some kind of where they're trying to look at how energy or something affects other energy. There's a science to the program that they're using.
What is the way to explain it? It's like a way of showing like how you put like thought out there. Like you would like throw a thought out there and it like manifests itself
There you
essentially.
go. Manifestation. Taking
Yeah.
and trying to literally manifest something into physical reality, and people have. And that's far out. That again talks about the machine is the machine is actually responsive to us. And that's where that law of attraction and vibration come in. If you're not in the right vibration, you don't have the attraction. And that's where when they tell people the secret, they need to frickin' tell them there's other laws too. Universal laws of night and day and the tide, male and female. These things are universal and interesting. And it all works within this system, which again, the Masons probably describe it best. We all operate everything in physical reality surrounded by a magnetic field. And if our magnetic field is in harmony, we do okay. But our magnetic field can get out of balance. And again, that's just another way of talking about vibration. So again, there's got to be something to it. These people are, talking about this similar thing, but from different angles.
Different perspectives. What is your take on UFOs?
I think some of them are ours. I think some of them are theirs. And I think some of them, my dad worked in space systems operations, man, and he just like kind of smiles, when I bring up UFOs, like he knows something. And he just can't tell me.
Right.
There's a certain time limit, that they have to keep all that stuff secret. But we're not alone. There's no way that we're alone. If what Bob Lazar says about the basic drive of most UFOs coming to visit us, when they come into the atmosphere, they can only use one of the gravity generators. Most UFOs have a 3-pod gravity generator system, or at least, and again, Bob Lazar, everything that he's freaking said 30 years ago, like he talked about the hand imprint machine for military, like the original one back then. So in a nutshell, we have UFO technology. We're reverse engineering it. Again, Bob Lazar talked about element 115, I think 20 years ago. He knew about element 115. It's what powered the frickin' basically the impulse drive in the UFOs. This element 115. Well, at the time, element 115 hadn't been discovered in physical reality yet. What are you talking about, Bob Lazar? Well, then they found it I believe it was in the Hadron Collider. And they're like, oh, element 115, it's real. The empirical evidence suggests to me, guys, that we're being visited. We've been visited. There's like the pyramids, man. What if the pyramids are just an energy structure transmitter, like to feed the UFOs? Again, I don't think the Egyptians even built the pyramids, man. The weathering on the pyramids and the Sphinx indicates that they're older than what mainstream archaeology has to say about it. They used to be really like non-mainstream, but they're finding out more and more. Like the flood, it wasn't Noah and stuff, but there was a bad flood. Like maybe a pole shift on this planet at one time. And I mean, it could wipe out pretty much everything on the surface. And that's where like religion, then you start to go, whoa, could there be something to the 6-day thing? Because they say that's cyclically about what it would take. Well, the earth spins at over 1,000 miles an hour. I forget the exact number. But that if you have a pole shift, the wind and the water keep going where they were going before. It takes them a while to catch up to the pole shift thing. So if that was to happen, and if it did happen, which again, crazy stuff, like almost beyond your imagination. But and again, the evidence, I mean, just look up Graham Hancock on Netflix.
Mhm.
I think it's Ancient Apocalypse is his latest thing. And man, there's some cool stuff in it that even if you're just, it's really, really interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, I think I have all of his books right now. have come out, like Before America, Message of the Sphinx, Fingerprint of the Gods, and stuff like that. There's a couple more. I'm trying to read off my other bookshelf, but I can't.
So you like Graham Hancock then?
I definitely have found some of his stuff interesting. I don't know if I've always agreed with all of it, but man,
Right?
some of
No, I
it's
understand that. I
yeah,
understand
some
that. I don't necessarily agree with all of it either, but there's some of it that
pretty
could be,
interesting.
yeah, it could be plausible.
Yeah, I
You
know I'm
know,
definitely open to it.
the weathering on the Sphinx, there was not a flood. It was not caused by a flood. It was caused by rain.
Mm.
And that's evident. You can look with your own eyes from all the freaking video around the Sphinx.
Yeah, no, that's why I like going to some of these like festivals and stuff because we get to meet some of these like really interesting people. Going back to Roswell, we got to meet like Travis Walton, Jesse
Mhm.
Marcel the third, Stanton
Oh
Friedman's
wow!
daughters.
You have to talk to the like people that actually were there.
Yeah, like
Oh,
I got
I definitely got
like
it now that I finally.
Fire
Yeah.
in the Sky, and then we got it signed by Travis Walton in there.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
a
Now
fun
he's
event if
another
you've
guy.
never.
Walton's believable,
Mhm.
and he's got witnesses to
Mhm.
back up the story. And again, the story remains straight after all these years. There's not. That's with all of them, like his buddies and stuff. So yeah, I believe Travis Walton was abducted. Do you? And you met
Oh
him.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, he was super nice to us. So, I mean, I
yeah,
don't. He didn't seem like he was lying or anything, and we listened to his talk. Like he gave a talk, so we filmed and put it on our channel. Um,
I'm going to be checking that out. So you guys actually got to meet him and talk to him about his abduction experience.
mhm. I'd show
That
you the pictures, but my phone died, so I can't show you.
phone ran out of energies, man. But it's been fun with talking with you guys tonight about a bunch of different stuff. You know, musicians, we love music. We love playing music, and I can talk about music all day long. But
Mhm.
again, I love adventure. You
Yeah,
know, that's kind of we've been talking about adventure and exploration, and again, finding out stuff. I love learning. Like I've watched education things that like documentaries. Again, are very can be very interesting. Knowledge is power. I love common sense. It's become very uncommon. Um, it's fun to be well read and to the one thing about Earth, even though it can be a pretty dark and scary place at times, it's a very interesting place with a lot of opportunities to learn and grow, figure out who you are, figure out who other people are. Um, Feeling a little better. A month ago, I would have had a slightly different outlook. You know, my dog had just died, my mom was dying. So that stuff, if you handle it with grace and do the best that you can, which my family did. We were there for my mom. She was not alone. She wasn't in a nursing home. She was at home. And my parents like kind of instilled it in me. We got to go on a lot of adventures. They kayaked when I was a kid. So every weekend we were camping. We're, taking the VW bus with the kayaks, up to the river and hanging out with my cousin Mitch and just being kids. There was no, it was before Atari. There was no even Pong yet or anything. You like
mm.
right outside in the dirt, like Tonka trucks. Again, when I was a kid, were made of metal. Now they rusted is the problem now because they're plastic now. Well, plastic doesn't rust. But again, the earth doesn't need more plastic. We need to start using hemp. Stop killing trees and use hemp to make paper and all kinds of cool products like these and recycle plastic into like these reusable bags. Finally, the grocery stores had a good idea. They're going to eliminate tons of plastic bag waste with what they're doing with the bags. It's actually a good thing.
Mhm.
There
Well,
needs to be more things like that happen. But again, simple things like, all right, you can still sell your paper. We're not trying to put you out of the paper business. You can make all kinds of things out of hemp. Like you can make car panels that are better than fiberglass and better than lighter and stronger than steel, and they never rust. But again, they don't want things that last forever because then you're not going to buy another car. The reason Tesla's great invention of electricity, they stole all of Tesla's ideas. All the shit we're using today, Edison didn't think of it. He just pirated it from Tesla. Freaking Edison was kind of an asshole. Well, maybe not kind of. Maybe he just was an asshole. He murdered freaking animals to prove that Tesla's form of electricity was dangerous. However, the DC current that Edison freaking invented was horrible.
Yeah, and it was used to execute.
Tesla was pushed out. You guys, you're familiar with his tower in Colorado Springs?
Yeah, we actually went down. We have a video on our channel where me and Alan try to go find the exact location based on some of the old photographs and stuff.
You're into a lot of the same stuff that I am as far as here in the state. And again, you guys also are into Billy the Kid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a couple conversations on our, I mean, we have tons of videos about Billy, but we've had some conversations with authors and historians and stuff that like Billy the Kid too. So,
Really an interesting person. I don't know if we would be as skilled as Billy, but faced with those circumstances, he just didn't want injustice and then got put into bad situations because he was good with a gun. And unfortunately, people solved their problems with guns maybe in that period of time. Again, freaking Wild West, man, the frontier. And that's Billy the Kid got caught up in politics, straight up. Um, that latest TV show on Epics, that Billy the Kid series is good. I think it's actually out of all of them that have been done so far, that one's I think the closest to actually really the actor really does a good job of bringing Billy to life again. Um, I like that show. Really enjoyed it. Now there's always a little bit of that historical fluff that they put into docudramas or whatever, but that show is well done, and I think they really are doing a good job of portraying. He really was more of a hero than fricking a criminal in my mind.
yeah, totally, totally. No, I think they've gotten better at how they portray Billy over the years. Um, since like 2005, I would say they've gotten a lot better. We've
Or
watched Cowboys and Outlaws with David Leon plays Billy, and I thought he did a pretty good job. We've interviewed Jorel Vosborg, who played Billy for Nat Geo's Billy the Kid New Evidence, and I thought he did really well in that too.
cut out
And
on me there for just a second, Kid. You were saying the last actor that played Billy.
Jorel Vosborg, we interviewed him, but he played him for Billy the Kid New Evidence on Nat Geo. And between him and David Leon, it was like a new renaissance of like people seeing Billy more as that hero,
Yeah,
and
well, they're
almost
really they're actually playing more like the real person. They're actually
mhm,
finally like again, rather than making him this outlaw, they're telling the truth that he was more of a victim of circumstances, and he was really skilled. He was a really good shooter. I think they nail it. I mean, from what the legends say, the guy was one of the most accurate freaking gunfighters or shooters ever. He just it was just natural to Billy.
right.
But I don't think he wanted to be a murderer at all. I think that again he got caught up in circumstance. And again, those guys were bad, man. The cattle barons in New Mexico. I mean, murdering people. Dolan wasn't really a father figure. What I know the history to be, he was more like their friend. He was a little older than them.
Oh, Tunstall.
Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah,
got the names mixed up. It was the Dolan faction. It was the Dolan faction that had the store that was competing with Billy's buddy again,
yeah,
Tunstall, who gets killed. He's murdered by basically the Dolan gang, and then the rest of those people in that cattle baron. What did they call it? The circle or something? It actually had a name for it.
the house.
The house.
Hmm.
Freaking evil. Those people were evil, and I just, yeah, I think Billy was in that story. I think Billy truly is the good guy, and I'm glad that they're finally telling the story like the way I knew it to be, like before they were telling it the right way.
Yeah.
If the more that you read and learn about Billy the Kid and the politics of that period in history and the people involved, it's again, really, it's one of my. It's really interesting. Again, I'm gonna have to watch you guys' videos and check out some of this stuff because our interests like they're the same, man. I'm really interested in some of the stuff that you've made videos about. I'm
Yeah.
excited to be another new rabbit hole to go down, which is always, a good time.
Yeah. No, we're working on one right now that connects Billy the Kid to the Roswell UFO.
Now that's I have to like keep my eye out for it because you can't probably give me no spoilers, huh?
I mean, I could give you some spoilers and then just cut it out and no one else knows.
Sure.
uh, but what we'll tell is like, because obviously Billy Kid's killed by Pat Garrett, but Pat Garrett ends up being killed by a Brazel in Roswell, and the Brazel, his nephew, is the one that ended up finding the UFO in Roswell.
Wow. So there really is truly a family connection to that whole deal.
Hmm.
That's crazy, man. Again, that small world thing, they're like the Red Miller thing, Sam.
Hmm.
We're all connected and we don't even realize it. We're all freaking connected. We're so connected and we don't even know it. We're part of this giant organism. We're just freaking these little things that do stuff.
Right. No, I
Little
mean
temple.
that's kind of like my our late friend Aiden. But back when I was a kid, my dad was friend with the Barrel Man. Like my dad was
Yeah,
friends with him.
Bronco fan.
Yeah.
He was cool. The Barrel Man was cool, man. Props to the Barrel Man.
Yeah. My dad was friends with him and we go hang out and have at the games and stuff with him and have get tickets through him and stuff like that. And I ended up going to school with this girl and she was the Barrel Man's granddaughter. And then me and Sam used to work at King's, we worked with a guy named Aiden who became our friend, but he was that girl's brother and also the Barrel Man's grandson. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy that we have like this big family connection. Like my dad has pictures because the Barrel Man let him borrow the barrel and stuff, so he has pictures of himself in the
Oh,
barrel. Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, the Barrel Man, he was like, I mean, from when I was a little kid, my parents had Bronco tickets for a long time. It's neat when you find out that your heroes are just people, just like,
right,
and through meeting them, like again, getting to meet Bev Bevan and Kelly. Well, no, yeah, and Kelly Graucut. It was Richard Tandy and Jeff Lynne that I didn't get. Getting to meet your heroes, you realize, oh, they're just people, just like me. We're all
right,
just people trying to make it somehow on this crazy planet. It's sometimes super fun, but sometimes super awful. As it flies through freaking space, man. Which again, we're so small. In if you're looking at universal sizes, the Earth is nothing, and we're really nothing on nothing. It's in this little arm of this giant galaxy, and it may be the one thing about the design of this universe maybe we all don't get to meet because there's so much space. The grand architect could fricking stick us anywhere and make it really hard. So I think you have to be pretty advanced. And I wonder if aliens are way more advanced than us, could they make a biological robot? Like, could the Greys actually be a biological like robot that they're sending here like as scouts? It's just a weird kind. I have no idea if I pulled it out of the ether, but something that I thought about it and wondered.
Have you
Don't,
ever seen any of the Stephen Greer stuff?
oh yeah, Steve
Yeah,
Kerr is really fun. You want to go down a rabbit hole.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, he knows people, and again, if what Greer says is true, and we have the behind the scenes Black Air Force that's going to the moon right now, that already has gravity drives, and he's pretty damn believable.
right.
Don't you guys think so?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I interviewed an author. His name's Steve Alton, and he was writing a book. It's called Undisclosed. He's probably most famously known for his Meg series, which they've made into a movie with Jason Statham. But he wrote a book called Undisclosed with Stephen Greer. And so we cover that a little bit in our interview with him. But then he helped Stephen get his book Unacknowledged out to the masses. That then became the documentary Unacknowledged. So,
Nice, right? When they brought in all the military folks and stuff, they've
mm,
done that. And it's neat to see the compartmentalization, how they keep the information in these little freaking compartments. Not literally, but
yeah.
everything compartmentalized so nobody knows. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Just like when Bob Lazar was working on the UFO, he only got to work on that small little piece. They don't
Yeah.
let like people know the whole technology. But yeah, if what Greer's saying, if even half of what these guys are saying is true, and we could live a little while longer, it's going to be kind of interesting. We might get to see it.
Right?
I want to be alive for first contact, even though it's probably
You never know.
if what Greer says is true, well, the government's already talking to aliens, but it's not even the government. It's these shadow programs, like a dark program underneath attached to another dark program. And but we
Yeah.
could get, if we talk again, we could get into stuff like simulation theory and the holographic universe. There's so many fun rabbit holes to go down when you're examining physical reality. And the basis is, is it a projection? Again, we know everything's made of atoms. We know that everything's moving. We know that everything vibrates. We can't see it, but we live in an ocean of motion because the air is molecules too and atoms. It's all stuff. And again, none of it's connected. Like it all looks connected and solid, but it's really not. And that's interesting to me because in a way, it's like the pixelation of a video game. That's why I like camping. I'm always up with the last guy, like we don't sleep or whatever, and then we have this really cool philosophical conversation around the campfire. I love shit like that.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of camping, me and Sam want to go out. There's a place near the sand dunes called the UFO Watchtower, and you can go camp at it. And
and
so,
why is it called the UFO Watchtower? Is there some paranormal activity in that region? Is it they actually is it a physical tower that they made that you can go up
yeah,
into? Or?
yeah. Since my phone is dead, luckily I have the book, but it's a big tower. Let's see if they have a better
All about the
picture.
famous UFO
Yeah,
Watchtower.
there's
No,
been lots
it,
of sightings there of like lights in the skies. So like she built a tower there.
Yeah, and then there was like Snippy the horse, which we got like a little short on, but it was like mutilated, like a cattle mutilation, but it was a horse. Yeah.
yeah, I love horses. That's why they got the horse. Yeah,
So
what are they doing? Whoever's examining these animals, what is it? What information are they gleaning from basically a dissection, and I believe, and you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, and an autopsy. It appears that's happening in some way, shape, or form, and with laser tools versus scalpels or knives, or
mhm. Yeah, I mean cattle mutilations. There's a couple different theories. I wouldn't put it past the government. There was a show called Expedition X, and I forget where they were. It might have been Washington or Oregon or something. But
on History Channel, right?
yeah, history or travel or something like that. But they were I think what they came out to be was like there was some leak somewhere by the military, and they were coming in at night to try not to scare the people, and they would abduct these animals, take them somewhere, operate,
No,
and
man.
bring them back, and but that's why they wouldn't be blood. But they were testing to see if the chemicals had gotten into the water and the food and stuff like that.
Did they? Did they find anything? You have a lot of what you were saying cut out on me. So did they
Oh,
actually find evidence?
yeah, I think it's been a while since I watched that one, but if I can recollect pretty well, it seems like that one was at least probably the government testing to see if the leak of whatever contamination had gotten into the food chain.
Like what happened just happened in like what just happened in Ohio, man. What a nightmare.
Right.
Forever Chemicals, man, just freaking dumped like toxic sludge. Again, oh, your well's fine. Yeah, what about 20 years later when it works its way down through the strata of the freaking understructure of the ground?
Well,
You know,
see that.
it's like a filter, but stuff fucking goes down. Sorry about my language,
No.
but it's something forever chemicals are stupid. Again, it's like nuclear war. Why do you guys make these things that could kill us all that never go away? It just, again, it needs to be more like Star Trek, where
Mm.
we're working to get along, we're working to do something, we're working to help each other, and then we grow and we get better. You know, when we lift each other up, we get better, we get stronger. But again, compared to like when I grew up, like kids nowadays, the meat grinder, we're way worse, I think, than what we dealt with. I mean, there's inclusion in some things that on the surface look good, but I think the world is a much scarier place for them than what it was for us. I'm glad that we were still as old school. Like you guys got to have a few field parties and stuff, didn't you? Growing up,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I grew up way before technology. So like it's weird because like my childhood versus like what my daughter's is completely different. But I mean,
oh,
I remember being outside all the time building like dirt ramps for our bikes and like playing football with the neighborhood kids and
yeah,
stuff
we
and
didn't wear no helmets neither, man.
yeah, yeah, riding on your handlebars on the bike.
There was this creek, you know, like I don't know if it was a mile or two away from my house, but we lived in a place called Meadowood in Aurora. But all the old cottonwood trees were there. There was one old dead one that they like frickin' had nailed like boards and it was dead and you could really climb it and get up pretty high. Yeah, I don't know, maybe we were third or fourth grade, still pretty young, man, and it was cool. Like we had our bicycles, we're going on our adventure, and again there was trails, and on the trails there was jumps for your bike, and eventually, you get to the frickin' weird place where, like, I guess these trees eventually flooded out or they just got old. But super neat, like old dead trees. Again, they usually chop them down or whatever.
Mhm.
Trees were still there, so it was like a whole dead forest. It had that kind of, how out in nature there's like almost a buzz to things. It's all the life around you, the insect life, the sound of the wind, the leaves stirring on the ground, the pine needles, just all the different, like the stimuli. It's just super cool. Like physical reality is neat. I have to give it credit. It's pretty cool when you step back and like, oh, all the little amazing things happening just in your small environment, like just out on your lawn.
Right.
Right now, stuff's hibernating and stuff because it's still cold, but here pretty soon, worms will start moving around again and insects will be born and hatched like spiders and things. And I like spring. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I like this time of year when it starts getting warm.
Yeah, see, when we go to it's a little weird, but when we go to big cities, you can almost get that sense of it. What we do is we go to the tallest building, right? And when you go up that high, like everything just kind of fades away, the sounds are gone, and
Yeah,
everything's just
'cause
so peaceful.
it's not up there.
Yeah,
That's where like I mean, you have the sound of the wind or whatever, but yeah, you don't have all the ground noise. I guess you could call it.
mm,
And high perspective is really interesting. My dad's a pilot, so I've got to look at things. Of course, everyone's flown, or hopefully you've traveled enough that you've been on an airliner. But yeah, it's really neat to see the Earth from above. The higher you get, it's it's neat. It really is a sphere. It's not
right,
flat. My dad worked for Space Systems Operations. One thing I know: the Earth is not flat. GPS could not work. My dad helped to frickin' make sure that the people were trained to keep that system operating up in space. That was his job, to disseminate the information to the instructors of all the different branches of the military for GPS. So, and again, whenever I ask him about UFOs, he never directly answers me. He just kind of looks at me and smiles. It's like he knows something. So again, yeah, I think they're real. I think Stephen Greer is really, really interesting. I've been checking out more of his stuff recently. Again, some of it's mind blowing and like, wow. But again, his story never wavers. He's like Bob Lazar. There's an element of truth for sure to what he's saying. And his dad was, a bigwig, and all the stuff he's been around, and then all the people that he knows. I mean, he knows people that have been deep in the Black Project stuff. And why would Greer want to lie to us? Again, I think he's just trying to. Same with Lazar. I think the fact that they're on YouTube and that it's becoming more mainstream, I think keeps those people safer. I think there's people that have been definitely killed, whether it be scientists, or people that have seen stuff. The government, they're a little more open to it now for whatever reason, and I don't know what that is. There's probably some kind of dark agenda behind it. But to actually have the government finally recognize, rather than saying, "Oh no, it's frickin' swamp gas," that shit never flew with me. I'm like, swamp gas. No, I'm like, sorry, man. That just, yeah. Like, you guys, did you guys remember they had a TV show, Project Blue Book, like years ago, and they did reenactments. I watched that as a kid. Like again, Star Trek reruns, Project Blue Book, The Man from Atlantis. It was fun.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of reviews of when did it come out? Like 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019 Project Blue Book. With
Yeah,
Aiden.
fun. Is it
Yeah,
worth watching?
yeah, on History Channel. It's really good. Yeah, Aiden
Yes.
Gillen plays Hynek, and then Mike Malarkey, who's a musician, plays Dr. Quinn or Captain Quinn. Sorry, but I think he does well, and I'm mixing them up. They're molding. They're one person in my mind now.
But they knew. They were some of the first people that.
Yeah, no, I highly recommend that series if you have not seen it.
I have not seen it because it goes deeper. From what I hear, it goes a lot deeper into what they actually discovered.
Well, and like one thing I like about it too is it like clearly there's some that are fake, right? And it talks about those, but then there's like what were the goblin ones? Hopkinville, where it was like clearly a fake one. I think it was Hopkinville, Sam, season 2.
Hopkinville.
Yeah, the goblins. So they show why that one was like clearly fake. But then there's some other ones. I think Roswell, because they touch upon Roswell in season 2, was like definitely an interesting one because they played up like some of it was fake, but definitely it was based on something real. Like it was good.
I'll check that out. Again, now I have a little bit more time. I definitely want to go down the rabbit hole on your YouTube channel. Again, I'm truly glad that Shane, gave me this opportunity to meet you guys, and you guys gave me the opportunity. Super fun.
Yeah, man.
And I know probably I don't want to bore you guys to sleep. So maybe we should be wrapping this one up pretty soon. Hopefully you could cut it. We got some good stuff in it.
We're definitely not bored. It's a long day.
Yeah.
More
For me too, guys. Trying to catch up around here. I mean, again, look at my office. I have a ways to go yet, but at least I can work at it now. And it was all right. The chaos just happened because I was never here. And when I was, you're going through stuff. It's just D&D stuff. It's all right. I don't. Mom's not gonna get mad. I'm gonna do some motorcycle vacationing this year. Have my
Come,
friend take care of my dogs and just hop on the bike and like freaking head into the hills. See where I wind up.
come down to Roswell with us. Motorcycle down there.
I actually every 2 years I go to Roswell. The National New Beetle Show happens in Roswell every 2 years, and so I've been to the UFO museum. And, the UFO museum hosts us. That's where we do the shows in their parking lot.
Okay.
In the
No.
museum, man, like they've added a whole bunch of really cool new stuff that it's pretty interesting, man. Roswell again was not a weather balloon. I
Agreed.
know that much. It was not a weather balloon, and I don't think it was a hieroglyphic tape from kids' toys. Yeah, it looked like they're symbols, and again, well, no, these came from tape or something. But again, in is it Jesse Marcel in his pocket?
Hmm.
There's that freaking memo, and they've pretty much deciphered it now. And it was like totally talking about the UFO material being moved to another military base, and it was in his pocket. And again, he didn't. Some of the pipe was sticking out. You guys have seen that, right?
Yeah, they recently did it too on History's Greatest Mysteries. Um, they did like 3 episodes, but they found an old journal in his collections. So Jesse Marcel the third that we got to meet was actually on that one, but they found a journal. They were going through the ground doing like radar and like scanning radiation. Like it was pretty fascinating. Definitely not a weather
And
balloon.
they have unusual metal
Hmm.
that basically like it could be from outer space, like right there in the museum. Um, and then just all the again information again. There's a really good book that talks about why it's not a weather balloon and why it wasn't a rocket and all the things that it's not. Now they didn't really totally know necessarily like was it a UFO, but they basically put together a book on why it's not what we've been told.
Hmm.
And again, now it's kind of isn't it kind of shifting to where they're kind of saying, yeah, well, maybe Roswell really did happen. I think they just don't want to admit that they have the technology because then someone's going to be even more eager to get it. The more that info is out there, the more bad actors know the information.
Hmm. No, they don't want to admit that they have that.
But hey, guys, really enjoyed it. My dogs have barked a couple times. Probably need to go out and do their business.
Yeah, no, I've
Okay.
enjoyed it. We'll definitely
So
have you back on for some other shows. Maybe not just reviews, but or interviews. We'll do some other stuff as well. Again, me and Sam both want to say a big thank you to Sean for joining us today. It was another fun episode of Culz Interviews where we discussed a lot of topics, not just music. Though we will definitely have to have Sean back on in the near future, and who knows, maybe we will even do an episode with Sean, Nick, and Shane. And speaking of Shane, we want to say thank you to Shane for connecting us because, like I said, this was a pretty fun episode. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did and want to see more Culz interviews, though, click that link to your left. If you want to see more about what we're doing here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, have you seen or heard any of Sean's bands? And if not, check out the description below.